Well, winter is almost here, which means basketball season has arrived. Welcome to the Beyond the Arc Coaches Show season preview for the 2018-19 season. I am your host, Brandon Hurley with the Jefferson Herald, and today I am joined by Greene County Boys head basketball coach Chris Nelson. Today, as I kind of alluded to, we'll look ahead to this year's boys basketball season. So the Greene County's coming off a 12-11 season last year. They got their first district win in Greene County school history. They do return a solid core, but they also graduated quite a few guys last year, most notably Wade Adcock, who was their big man in the middle. So he'll be a little hard to replace. And they also lost Brent Bavard and Ben Wilkins. So we'll kind of start there a little bit. How tough is it trying to replace a guy like Wade Adcock and those guys that you lost last year?
Well, early on, it'll be a kind of, I'm not going to say it's going to be an issue, but it'll be a concern because we don't have anybody big that'll be right from the get-go. Obviously, Tyler Miller is down here now and is going to play for us, but he's going to be out till mid-January. So right now, when we show up on the floor, we're going to be really short. So we'll notice because we'll have to get to the paint in different ways. I'm a very big on getting to the paint touches. It makes things simpler when you got a big guy down low that you can throw it to and have that threat. So you'll see a lot more movement from us this year. We've always liked to move, but we'll probably even more movement just based because we're quicker and faster, but we don't have that presence just to give it down there and let them bang and score.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess before we get going even farther, I forgot to thank our sponsors today. We are shooting from Tech Zone Live. They're one of our core sponsors, and we're also sponsored by Doc Stadium. So thanks a lot to those guys. We wouldn't be able to do what we are today. So as I alluded to earlier, you guys do have a decent experienced core coming back with Trey Highnote, Carter Morton, and Lance Hughes. So we'll start with those guys. What do they bring back to the team, and how do you see them kind of guiding the direction of this team this year?
Well, Trey and Lance have been starting for like 3 years now. So they've got lots and lots of experience. Both are all conference guys, both very talented. Carter Morton got to play. He's one of our first guys off the bench last year. Got a lot of good minutes that way. So his role will change. He's a starter now, and expectations from the offensive side will be a little bit different. Defensively, it won't be because he's very good on the defensive side, hustles around. But they'll bring a little bit more of that experience that we'll definitely need early on in the season, especially with some of our early road games. And then the way we're going to play is based off kind of those guys. All three really thrive in up and down pace basketball, and that's the way we're going to be built, just because of our stature and our guys. But that's probably our best basketballs when we can get up and run.
Yeah, I noticed last year, though Carter didn't take a whole lot of threes, his percentage was pretty good. So do you expect him to kind of take more on a role of being another one of those shooters this year and take more volume shots?
Yeah. Teams are gonna when they face us, they're gonna know. There's, like I told them today, there's two guys that they're gonna pay attention to, and it's Trey and Lance. And those two deserve because they put the time in and they're very good players. But so that should create some more shots, not just for Carter but for other guys. All our guys have green lights from the three-point line. When Tyler Miller gets back, maybe not quite him on the three-point. But if they're open, we want guys to be able to shoot it. Don't feel like they have to just pass it up. But then also have to realize, is that within my game on the shot selection part, which most of our guys will shoot threes and can do it pretty well, so we're not too concerned about that. But sometimes it'll just come down to time and possession and what we need to do there. But Carter's offensive will need to be increased some. Obviously, a lot of our things will run through Trey and Lance, but there's guys that are going to get a lot of good shots because of those two.
Yeah, and we mentioned Trey. He's kind of your go-to guy this year. He's a guy that's been around the program a long time, setting all kinds of shooting records. So just as a player, what makes him so good, and why is he so valuable to your team?
Well, he's expanding his game. I mean, he's always been known to shoot it, and he will definitely, shoot them. I mean, on Saturday when we scrimmaged in our Hard Pride scrimmage with Kemper, I mean, he made 9 threes, so he proved pretty well, and he's not afraid to pull from anywhere.
Yeah.
But he's the nice thing with Trey is he's always working on his game, trying to get better, and everything he does on the court, he's definitely earned it. And then it's just a matter of utilizing that dribble more this year because teams, they've seen him now going on 4 years. They know what he's going to do from the outside. I think he can really benefit us by putting the ball on the ground. And I mean, he can score at the basket or on the jump shot. He's improved both those areas, and he's also very capable of creating for other guys. But I think he'll have a pretty big year this year. And between him and Lance, we got a pretty good 1-2 combo between the two of them.
Yeah, you definitely do. And Lance is a guy that also has never lacked confidence.
No.
So, where do you see his game has grown from last year to this year?
He's continued to work on his jump shot. I mean, when I first got here, his main shot was a floater. I mean, he still shoots it, but he's a lot more confident in pull-up jump shots, and he's got a really good vertical, very springy. So he knows how to utilize his dribble to get to the spots he wants, and with that added jump shot, I mean, he becomes really tough to guard because he can just stop and rise up. His three-point shot has gotten better. Still needs some improvement there, but overall he's really improved his game. He can get to the lane a lot, and he's going to be able to create a lot of shots for other guys as well as himself.
So yeah, we touched on that core of three guys, so that leaves kind of a couple open spots in the starting lineup. I know you talked about potential other two guys filling in the 4 and 5 spot before Tyler Miller, who's transferring for Peyton Jourdain this year, and he won't be eligible until January
15th is the day we're counting that
down. So you guys have a couple open spots in that starting lineup. So who do you think is going to fill in there in those other two spots this year?
We'll ride with the stars we had from Saturday. Nick Breon will be in there. I mean, we basically are running a 5-guard lineup. We know we have 4 and 5 there just for break purposes when we run a fast break, but we really don't have a 4 and 5. But Nick will be in there, and he's going to be all over the place. He plays extremely hard, not afraid to get physical and bang around. And Caden Lowmiller is the other one that, again, he's not afraid to get physical, shoots it well from the outside, and he just kind of picks up his own role and knows what to do there. But both of them haven't seen varsity time, so I think it won't take long for them to quickly adjust. But there'll be some moments that it'll be new to them. But those two guys, I feel really confident that they'll do quite well in that first 5.
Yeah, speaking of that transition into varsity, where do you think what's the toughest transition making that kind of jump from JV to varsity?
Toughest would probably be, really in my opinion, 2 things. One is speed. It's a faster game, and then there's more scorers and able players on the floor. Granted, we'll play some JV teams that have got 5 guys that are pretty good, and they're a nice JV team. But a lot of times that JV, you've got your 1 or 2 go-to guys, and the rest of the guys are kind of they're doing their roles. When you get to the varsity level, everybody's very capable, and just that speed of the game, the pace is probably the big differences.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned that scrimmage with Kemper a lot on Saturday. What are your biggest takeaways from that game on Saturday?
I knew scoring wasn't going to be a terrible issue for us this year. We've got very capable guys. I was a little surprised we put 89 up on the board.
Yeah, it's pretty good for
Kemper is, obviously a pretty good basketball school. I know they lost quite a bit, but I was really pleased with our defense as well. We're not big, so we've got to really put ball pressure on the wings and on the ball, and then we got a front post, and we're basically going to dare teams try to skip passes and beat us on long jump shots. Hopefully most nights that will work in our favor, but overall defense was pretty good. At times we need to have 5 guys crash a little bit harder on the boards and a little bit talking earlier to match up in the transition, but overall I thought we did really well for new guys being out there, and guys really played their roles really well, and it was just really nice to see.
Yeah, so obviously your new starting lineup meshed pretty well together. Why do you guys think you were so successful in that kind of first go out with that new offense?
Well, they've played a lot this summer together, but also just the style we're playing. We run a few quick hitters and some set plays, but a lot of it is based off of playing off each other and just movement. And all our guys are capable of scorers and kind of see the floor, move off each other pretty well. And I think that helps in that area. And they get along pretty well together off the floor. But like I said, things went pretty well on Saturday for us. So things go a lot easier when things are going, balls going in the hoop and stuff. One of the big things I'm waiting to see is when maybe the shots aren't falling or a team makes a bigger run on us, how we react to that. If we stay together, which I really feel we will, I think we'll be fine. But those couple moments will be where we kind of find out really where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. And kind of going off that, I know you've been trying to key on a lot of defense the last couple of years. So defensively, where are you going to focus and how are you going to improve and kind of shut more teams down this year?
This year, like I said, we've always been a man-to-man team. We will throw zone in there here to just throw teams off or give them a different look or wrinkle. But our on-the-ball pressure will be even more this year just because of that lack of size early on. But we have guys that can really hound the ball, and then we're going to – we've pressed in moments, but this year we're going to probably do it more. Just try to make it a more up-and-down game if we can. Obviously, teams are going to eventually pick up that that's the way we want to play, and they'll want to change that style. But we want to dictate the tempo regardless if it means they've got to – by our press, by changing that pace up either fast or slow, and then offensively we want to get out and go. So defensively, we just got to be physical and kind of more in your face than we have been the last few years.
Mm-hmm. All right, so a guy that will help defensively when he's eligible is Tyler Miller. He's 6'9", not a lot of guys are that height in 2A. So what will he bring to your team when he's eligible next semester?
Well, first obvious part is he's going to bring some size for us. 6'9". There's not a lot of those guys roaming around. Our conference in general is not a real tall team conference. Every team seems like a 6'5" guy, but 6'9", he's going to bring just a different demeanor for us, obviously on both ends. Offensively, he gives us that low block guy where we can really play off of him, and that will open up some other guys because I don't think they'll double off of Lance or Trey very often, but if those guys use him well, we're going to get a lot of good looks there. Defense, where I think is going to be the biggest difference for us, just because when we press, we can be a little more aggressive with it, just because we have 6'9" sitting at the rim. Obviously, Tyler going to have to make sure he is smart and moves his feet, and is not trying to reject every shot that goes up. So he's got to stay out of foul trouble. But it's just a different look attacking the rim when there's a 6'9" guy there over a 6-foot guy. But and he'll help obviously on the rebounding side too.
Yeah, definitely that'll help a lot with that.
But he moves really well. He's got some things he's still working on, but we'll whip him into shape. He'll be ready to go.
Yeah, definitely will. And I know just watching a little bit of your practice, your guys are excited to have him coming out there just for like we said, what the height that he brings. So I guess winding down this a little bit, if you're looking ahead to next week, what are some things that you're looking from your guys just off that first game against Ogden?
Well, obviously the first one is, can we kind of, get ourselves under control? Everybody gets excited. It's the first game. Obviously, we got some new guys and new roles. Really only two guys that are playing the same role that they've done in the past. So just kind of see how quickly we adjust to that. And then can we keep up our tempo and pace for 4 quarters? And then just that assertiveness on defense. We're really looking for 4 quarters of good effort. We were pretty good with that on last Saturday. I know last year we tend to start games out pretty well, and we usually tended to somehow have a lull rate, probably coming out of halftime, that kind of ended up hurting us a few times. So we've got to really grind through that, and that'll be a mentality thing. And I think we got a confident group of kids. There's no doubt. So we'll kind of look at those things, but just the pace of play and just making our adjustments on the go. And really, we want to be that team that comes out swinging right off that. We want to be the aggressors from the get-go and make them have to adjust to us. We'll obviously make our adjustments as games go around, but we don't want to kind of come out and feel what's going to happen. We want to make things happen. I think our kids are very ready to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. And last question here, I guess, with the Heart of Iowa Conference, how do you see it breaking down this year, and how would you assess the talent throughout the conference?
I think top to bottom, it's a pretty solid conference. South Hamilton and Gilbert will be the best, in my opinion. South Hamilton, until someone beats them, is going to be the favorite. That old adage that way. They lose a really good point guard, but they've got a good core of kids back. Gilbert brings a lot of kids back with a very good guard and a nice big guy down low, or that can also extend out to the 3-point line. PCM will be solid. Obviously, they got a little bit of a late start because of football, but that's okay. Nevada will be a new look team with a new coach and new players. Sadell, same thing. Rolling Story will be a team that if you don't get ready to play them, they'll sneak by you, which they did that to us last year. And I can't think of the other team. Maybe
North Polk
has got He's a big guy now. I saw that. I don't know if I didn't see him on the roster at the time, but maybe they just hadn't updated it. But they've got talent. It's just a matter how well they play together. But I really think we can be right there at the top. I think we can give teams some issues with our athletic ability and speed and quickness, but we've got to bring it on both sides. But I think our kids really believe that we've got a chance to win in our conference, and I think we really do. And we'll find out kind of really early on where we're at because we get to go play South Hamilton and Gilbert first 2 conference games. So that'll be a good measuring stick for us and see where we're at. But I think overall, I mean, if you're going to have to win your games on the home floor in the conference play, and you're going to have to probably go on the road and win a few that maybe you shouldn't. But it'll be a fun year. I know our kids are excited to play.
Yeah, and I like that point that you made to me last week. You need to go in and get some wins that you're maybe not expected to win. Last year, you won all those games that you were expecting your favorites in, but a lot of the games that kind of could have gone either way, you guys didn't win those.
I mean, the good teams will always beat the teams they're supposed to beat. I mean, obviously there is an upset here or there, which will happen, but on the majority of nights, you're going to beat those teams you should beat. We had a little bit of issue last year is we could play other teams maybe at our level or better. We played them fairly competitive for the most part, but we just need to make sure we finish out those games, and we got to win some of those. I think that's where we're at in the next step. You know, my first year here, we had the kind of the same thing. We played a lot of good teams, played them pretty tough, and just couldn't find a way to finish it. And last year's so that's a big stepping stone for us as we continue to move our program in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big key. So that does it for our season preview of the Beyond the Arc Coaches Show. If you want to see some basketball, the season begins on Monday as Greene County hosts Ogden. It should be a pretty fun year. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and thanks a ton for Chris Nelson for joining us. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks.